These are the absolute worst.
It's so bad!
My top 10 worst horror films of 2023. This was actually a pretty difficult list because there were a lot of not great or quality movies in horror this year. It is nothing like 2022, which was an excellent year for horror.
I think it was great.
Remember, these are just my opinions. You don't have to agree with them. And honestly, I kind of hope that not everyone does agree with them because I like it when people enjoy horror movies. I totally think that whether you like a movie or not depends on your expectations going in, maybe even your mood at the time, maybe whether you've eaten. There are so many things that factor into whether you enjoy a film or not. It is possible that if you maybe love one of these films that I have on my list, which I'm sure some people will, that maybe I was just in a bad mood that day. If you really think a movie is good, then that's all that matters. It doesn't matter what anyone else thinks about it. The only time people get upset is when they know that maybe the movie isn't that good and they feel the need to defend it. If you watch one of these films and you thought it was really good, then that's great. That's your opinion. You're also entitled to be very, very wrong. Come on. There are also some films out there that are probably worse than these that I just maybe didn't have the chance to see or didn't see. So if you think that I missed something that was horribly bad and didn't put it on the list, maybe I didn't see it. Or maybe I didn't think it was as bad as you did. These are in a particular order. It's not just a random top 10. We're going to start out with 10, which is the film that bothered me the least, all the way up to 1, which is a big hunka turd, obviously. Number 10 on my list is Five Nights at Freddy's, directed by Emma Tammy, starring Josh Hutcherson, Piper Rubio, and Matthew Lillard. Whew. Man, I did a full review of Five Nights at Freddy's, so you can check out my other review if you would like. But I think my biggest issue with this film is not that I actually really hated it. I just felt that it fell very flat and far from what I was expecting from the film. I am a Five Nights at Freddy's fan, and I like the games, and I love the story and the lore. The acting was great. I really, of course, loved Matthew Lillard back in his role. There were some nods to, some of his earlier horror films, and I think that the animatronics are amazing. The puppets, the Jim Henson workshop, did the animatronics, the puppets. The feeling just wasn't there for me. I love Corey Kenshin, his cameo. That was precious. The moment they built the fort, I was just 12 to a 6. I feel like it was tonally kind of all over the place. I don't mind PG-13 films. The Ring is one that comes to mind. I loved The Ring, and it's PG-13. It's incredibly scary and creepy and atmospheric. This film, however, was not. So I did go into this film with very high expectations, and that could have easily swayed how I felt about it. But I also have to say that everyone that I was with, which included teenagers, we all disliked the film, unfortunately. I'm glad that people are enjoying it, and I will watch the rest of the films in the series because I like Five Nights at Freddy's. That's why it's on number 10. Not my most hated. Honestly, I didn't even hate it. I just didn't like it. Number 9 is It's a Wonderful Knife, directed by Tyler McIntyre, starring Justin Long, Joe McHale, and Catherine Isabel. It's a Wonderful Knife is obviously a play on It's a Wonderful Life, and the story follows the same sort of concept. A year after a girl saves her town from a psychotic serial killer, she finds her life in disarray, and she's very unhappy. So she wishes that she had never been born, and she gets her wish because of the Northern Lights, and then she gets transferred into this other dimension, which is really a super duper crazy dimension. Like, it's crazy. It's really weird. I think Justin Long is fabulous in this, but I'm a huge Justin Long fan. So there's that. The killer, I love the look of the killer. I love the all white. I love the white mask. I love everything about that. And that's pretty much where my likes end. I don't understand what they were trying to accomplish. They didn't really explain why her parents were so awful to her, or they became so awful to her. It just gets crazy. It doesn't make any sense. It's a very weirdly written script. They jump from one extreme to another to try to get to a certain point. But that's not good. That doesn't work. You need to have the art. The cinematography was great and nice. I think that this could have been a really good and cool film had they fleshed out the story more. And instead of focusing on, it feels like they focused on too much instead of the characters, because It's a Wonderful Life is all about the person. You have to care about them or else it doesn't work. That's the whole basis of that, it's that feel-good stuff. And this did not do that for me at all. As much as I wanted to have a great new Christmas slasher, this one isn't it. Number 8 won't come as much of a surprise. The Exorcist Believer, directed by David Gordon Green, starring LaFortune Joseph, Leslie Odom Jr., and Tracy Graves. I did a full review of The Exorcist Believer if you would like to check that out. I went into a lot of detail as to why I disliked the film, and I disliked this film quite a bit. I am a huge Exorcist fan, and I did go into this with high expectations, but that's not why I didn't like this film. This film was poorly written. I think the acting was great. I didn't have a single problem with any of the actors in the film. I was really impressed by them, actually. I just felt the story and the script. I'm sure everyone has heard this all before, and I'm sure most people give the same reasons for why they're not a fan of this new Exorcist series of films. I will see the next ones because I'm a huge Exorcist fan. I'm going to see it through to the end, but this was very disappointing. It's not higher up on the list because, to be honest with you, the acting was good, the cinematography was good, the sound was good. There was some cool moments that I enjoyed, so it's not a horrible film. It was just a huge disappointment to me, and therefore definitely makes my top 10 worst. Number 7 is another big franchise that I really love, and it is Pet Cemetery Bloodlines, directed by Lindsay Anderson Beer, starring Jackson White, Natalie Allen Lind, and Isabella Starr LeBlanc. That's a great name. Jackson White plays Judd Crandall, a character we know from Pet Sematary. And as he and his girlfriend are trying to leave town to go explore the world, they get roped back in, and he discovers the cemetery and his familial connection with the land and the ground there. So that's the basic gist of the story. I don't want to give too much away in case you do want to see it. But this movie was a disappointment for multiple reasons. It has David Duchovny in it, and I love David Duchovny. I feel like his character was very odd, and motivations did not make any sense. Actually, most of the character motivations in this film are very confusing. They have a small snippet in the film where they actually travel further back to actually delve into how the whole curse came to be. And I think that would have been a much better story than what was told here. This movie was not scary at all. It had really bad CGI. I mean, shockingly bad. So bad that I went, oh, ugh. Pet Sematary is another franchise that I really enjoy and I love. I should have expected it to be what it was, but with David Duchovny, there are also some other well-known cameos that weren't great, and it was really bad on the scares and bad on the CGI, and just nah, I'm sorry. Pet Sematary, you let me down. I think we're going to stay on a roll with the franchises because coming in at number 6, we have Insidious The Red Door. Directed by Patrick Wilson, starring Patrick Wilson, Ty Simpkins, and Rose Byrne. So, to be completely honest and transparent, I am not a huge fan of the Insidious franchise. I don't think the movies are scary at all. I laugh at most of them. I laughed at the first one when the Sith came up. I know a lot of people liked it and were very scared by it. I thought it was hilarious. It's pretty funny looking to me. I mean, I know a lot of people really like it, so that's great. All well and good for you. However, I think that even Insidious fans can agree that this film didn't really do much. I don't think that Patrick Wilson did a bad job directing this film at all. Actually, I'm kind of shocked. I think the direction was good. I think the cinematography was good. I think the acting was well done. I think Patrick did an amazing job in the film as well, but it is not scary. This film is clearly just a wrap-up or a wrap-up to restart the Insidious franchise, because what happens is he and his son have, been hypnotized and they repress these memories, and then the memories start coming back out of the further, and the son realizes their abilities, and so I think that it could continue along that path, which is fine and great, and that's wonderful and all. It's just not something for me, and this film was, woof. It was so boring. Sorry, Insidious. Number 5 was something that I thought, oh, this sounds so fabulous on paper. Sloth House. Directed by Matthew Goodhue, starring Lisa Mbalavanar, Sidney Craven, and Andrew Horton. Emily decides to adopt a sloth so that she can get some influence in her sorority. I mean, of course, sloths are super cute. But of course, she adopts this crazy sloth, which we really don't know why he's crazy completely. It's confusing. You do see him in a tree, and then something happens, and apparently it sets him off, and he's on some weird medication. It's very confusing. The whole story is very confusing there. It wasn't even so bad. It was good at all. Like, there were no laughs. Nothing was funny. The sloth was cute. I think they thought that would be enough to make the film good, but it wasn't. And I don't know how a sloth, who was supposed to be so slow, manages to basically warp everywhere. I mean, whatever. The whole movie is nonsensical, so I guess that's fine. But it didn't resonate at all with me. And this is something that I would think would resonate. So unfortunately, it has made the list. Coming in at number 4, There's Something Wrong with the Children, directed by Roxanne Benjamin, starring Alicia Wainwright, Zach Gilford, and Amanda Crew. A young couple takes a trip with another young couple and their children, and they go camping. Fine, seems all well and good. As they're out exploring, they find this weird cave. The kids see it and they're really intrigued by it, and they actually become kind of obsessed with it. They keep begging to go back, and everyone keeps telling them no. They wake up one morning and the kids are missing. Needless to say, they find them near the cave, and then the kids start acting weird and crazy, and it sounds like it would be great and cool. It's just that the story is not well written. Mainly the character motivations. If I thought that this guy did this stuff, I wouldn't be leaving my children with him again. And they do. It's odd. The acting is all over the place. Sometimes it's okay, sometimes it's not. I mean, they basically have a police officer come in, and those motivations are weird, and it was just really to, have another victim. But yeah, sorry. There's Something Wrong with the Children is no bueno. Speaking of children, coming in at number 3, we have Children of the Corn. Yikes. Directed by Kurt Wimmer, starring Elena Kampouris, Kate Moyer, and Callan Mulvey. So this is the 11th film in the Children of the Corn franchise. That's crazy. There's a lot of Children of the Corn films. And this film is about a small town. It starts off with this crazy like orphanage massacre or something. It's very odd. And there is a girl who survives and is taken in by the pastor, and the town wants to destroy their corn crop so that they can get the government subsidy for it, which, I mean, that actually makes sense. I know that happens. The effects are super bad. When you actually see He Who Walks Behind the Rose, they shouldn't have. The imagination is much better than, oh man. I know that this was filmed in like 2020, but it wasn't released until 2023 this year. So I don't know exactly what happened. Maybe production had to stop, of course, because of COVID. And then I don't know if they picked it back up. I mean, they are kids. So like, kids grow a lot in a year. They change a lot. So maybe there was a lot of issues with that. I don't know. It didn't feel unfinished. It just felt like the story was not good. I like at least one of the Children of the Corn films, which is the original Children of the Corn. I did enjoy that one. I do think they're generally good for a laugh. This one was not good or good for a laugh, so that's unfortunate. Coming in at number 2 on our list, we have Run, Rabbit, Run. Directed by Dana Reed, starring Sarah Snook, Lily LaTorre, and Damon Harriman. This is an Australian film, and I will say that going into this, I had heard so much good stuff about this film, and I don't think that my expectations were that high that I was this disappointed with this film. It's about a single mother and her daughter who are celebrating her daughter's birthday. Her daughter finds a rabbit, and it like kind of becomes obsessed with the rabbit. You come to find out that the mother had a sister in years past who was also really liked rabbits, and the story unfolds as to what happened with the mother and the sister. Now it seems like it's a possession film because the daughter starts acting super weird and saying that she is the sister. It's so odd. It's so weird. It doesn't make sense. I don't understand why she would even have her daughter. I don't know why a mother, she realizes what's happening. It just the character motivations, I'm not okay with this film. I just really am not okay with this film. The truth is, the mother is just a horrible person. I don't really like those kind of films because if I wanted that, I'd watch Lifetime films. Yuck. And coming in at number 1 of my top 10 worst horror films of 2023, we have Winnie the Pooh, Blood and Honey. Directed by Reese Frake Waterfield, starring Maria Taylor, Danielle Ronald, and Natasha Tosini. I don't think this is much of a shock. I don't think that I've spoken to a single person who actually liked this film. Yeah, I don't think a single person that I've talked to has actually liked it. Basically, Christopher Robin, goes away to college and has to abandon Pooh and Piglet and Eeyore and all of them. And apparently while he's away, they go crazy and they eat Eeyore and they do a lot of really weird things and become angry and bitter toward humans, even though they seem like they're half human and half bear and half this. It's super weird and odd. I have to say that I think the cinematography is okay. The gore, I mean, some of it okay, maybe some of it, but that's literally the best things that I could say about this film. Everything else about the film is no good. I have a director friend that I work with often, and he told me, don't do it, don't watch it. I barely made it through it. And I do value his opinion, but obviously I had to see for myself. And I will tell you that it is It is very rare for me to want to turn off a film, but this movie really did make me want to turn it off. It's that bad. Where I was watching, I was like, oof, 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 whoa. It's unfortunate. I know that they're going to make another one, and perhaps the creator and director or whatever can redeem himself with the next one. Maybe it was budget. Maybe it was whatever. I don't know. But this movie was not good at all. It is my number one worst hated horror film of 2023. That's pretty bad, considering how many bad films there were this year. I'm surprised this was the one. I thought it might be a campy good time. It's not a campy good time. Do you agree with the films that I chose for my list? What are your worst horror films of 2023? Is there a movie that you think deserves to be on my worst of list for 2023? Let me know in the comments below. As always, thank you so much for watching, and I really do hope that you have the most amazing day, my spooky darlings.